In 2018, my mother died, and I found out probably 2 weeks later that she gifted the family house to her handyman. And so, as a happiness specialist, what the hell am I supposed to do with that?
Yeah.
And it took probably a month, 3 weeks to a month for me to be able to laugh at that, to really laugh. I mean, that is a funny story.
What if the truth came in a gel cap and we could just pop it in our mouths and forget about it? Well, it doesn't, and we can't. But we can laugh in the face of reality while plotting our survival. Welcome to the Truth Tastes Funny podcast. I am your host, Hirsch Redpun, and if my guests can handle the truth, so can you. Open wide, folks. Here it comes.
Our guest today on Truth Tastes Funny is Rebecca Norrington. Rebecca is a happiness specialist and an inner peace practitioner. I liked that as much as I like the title of her book. She's the author of Reality, Spirituality, The Truth About Happiness. So as you know, if you listen to the show, we're all about truth. We're all about happiness. And we also are all about reality because we can't escape it. So being a student of the universe and its laws, as Rebecca is very helpful to us. So welcome, Rebecca, to Truth Tastes Funny.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity just to share with what has been a lifelong journey and an endeavor to find the truth about happiness. And I have to say, my second book, the one that just came out a couple of weeks ago, called Programmed for Unhappiness.
Right, yes.
Programmed for Unhappiness. And in there, I list 55, really 56, but 55 is my number. 55 program behaviors that subtract from a person's happiness. And when I say happiness, I'm not talking about something happens and now I'm happy. I'm talking about a personal vibration of contentment, of peace, of regardless of what the world throws at you, the roller coasters.
Yeah. And that's a good point, Rebecca, which is that we only have so much control. We can control our response, but we can't control the world at large. Or can we? What's the extent to which we can control the levels of our own happiness?
Well, it's interesting and I can only speak for myself, what I know that I can control. And what you said was really important, because there is a difference between reacting to life and responding to life. And reacting is just a program, instant. Somebody cuts you off in traffic, or you give them the salute, one finger salute. Or you respond. And so the reaction is a program. All of the instant reactions, just know that you are being programmed, and programs are all based on the past.
Yeah. And so in Programmed for Unhappiness, are you proposing that says people in society are generally disposed to be unhappy, or that somehow society is shaping us up that way?
I'm saying that 98% of the population, we were born with a clean slate, has been programmed for this unhappiness, has been programmed for this vibration of dissatisfaction, has been programmed to want more from the present moment, has been programmed not to feel satisfied or live in the present moment.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of dissatisfaction, it seems. And that can be a good thing or a bad thing, right?
Well, this is the problem, Hirsch. This is the whole problem. I've been teaching these classes, The Truth About Happiness, for almost 15 years in California, in Oregon, and now in Las Vegas, baby. And what I found is, and I always start the class the same way. I give everyone a package, and I say, in this package is the answer to all of your problems, all of your challenges for the rest of your life. Do you know what's in the package?
A mirror. Oh, there we go.
How did you know
Nice.
that? And
Well,
so,
I'm a branding expert. But that said, that's perfect. That is perfect.
and so the question is, how many people are rushing to the mirror and saying, "Oh, it must be me. It must be me. It's not them. It's me."
Right.
That's why I don't
Right.
have friends.
Well, and let's talk about some of the people that you've worked with. You've been a fitness instructor, a Reiki practitioner. You were a legal secretary,
Yes, I
right?
was.
So,
Yes.
how did this quest kind of begin?
Well, do you remember when you were younger, blowing the candles out at your birthday, on the birthday cake and making a wish?
Yes.
When I was in my teens, I always wished for the same two things. I wanted to, number one, live to my potential. I had no idea what that meant. I had no plan. I had no vision. I just said I want to live to my potential. And the second thing is I wanted to be happy.
Mm,
And so this happiness has been a lifelong search. And I'm thinking, like most, the programming is, well, accomplish, find Mr. Right, have a few titles behind my name, travel, money in the bank, all of these things. And much to my chagrin, it has nothing to do with this energy, this vibration that I was seeking. And so I had to find out, is it possible? Is it possible to maintain an energy of contentment regardless of what life throws at you?
right. Yeah, that's what I like. The energy of contentment is what's so elusive, right? We can find happiness, it seems, in very small doses, very temporary, sometimes they're time release doses, and we don't get happy right away. We kind of something good happens, and we absorb it. Oh, that's great. And people will say, "Aren't you happy? Why aren't you happy? This happened." And you'll be like, "Okay, I get it. I'm going to be happy. I'm very happy." But then the question is, how long does that last, right?
And that is the whole answer. How long does it last? And so I'm not talking about anything that happens and now I'm happy. Give you a perfect example. This is one of my favorite stories, which which is the truth. In 2018, my mother died, and I found out probably 2 weeks later that she gifted the family house to her handyman. And so, as a happiness specialist, what the hell am I supposed to do with that?
Yeah.
And it took probably a month, 3 weeks to a month, for me to be able to laugh at that, to really laugh. I mean, that is a funny story. Mother dies, happiness specialist, and the house goes to the handyman. However, but coming back, and you said it earlier, what did I really get from that? Number one, you can't maintain an energy of contentment having expectations. All expectations subtract from happiness. Number two, attachments to outcomes, attachments to things, attachments to contents of a house. Number three, there were just so many lessons that I needed to grasp, and even learn more. And so looking at it as a blessing, what didn't happen right away though.
It makes for a great, image and line, that everything went to the went to the handyman. Tell us, if you will, though, a little bit about your childhood and your relationships growing up, because I think that informs your point of view as why you would want to become a happiness specialist.
This is what really, really started the journey for me. I didn't go on this journey looking for myself. I have one son, and when he was about 12 years old, 11 years old, he signed my name to his report card.
Uh-huh.
Have you ever done that?
I think I did it once. I do think I did it once.
I've done it too. And so he signed my name, and my best friend told me, he says, well, he did, that's your fault because he can't come to you because he knows that you'll react or you'll get upset. And he was absolutely right. And when my friend told me that my son can't come to me, I said, oh no, I need to change something. I want to have a relationship with this young man that's totally different than I have. I couldn't tell my parents.
Yeah.
So I wanted to have a different relationship with him, and I wanted him to be able to come to me with anything. And that really started it for me.
Yeah. So recognizing that you had a bigger vision for yourself than just working on that relationship with your son.
Yes, and I knew that, well, I believe that I teach by example, especially if it's a child. I teach by example as opposed to just talking.
Yeah.
So if I say trust, or if I say surrender, or if I say don't resist the present moment, guess what? I have to be able to know how to do that.
Yeah. And how did things progress with your son after that?
Oh, he's in jail right now. He's doing about 10 years.
Well, I was going to say,
He's fine.
I gathered he was fine, but then again, well, so seriously, tell us a little bit about
Well,
that, how you managed
it's
it.
funny that you should ask that because we just started. I've been wanting to do something with him. He's 39 now. And I've been wanting to do something with him. And every Saturday morning, we do a live show on YouTube. It's called Mother and Son Making Sense Out of Nonsense.
Oh, great.
Plus more.
Yeah.
You got to pause. Plus more. So it's Mother and Son Making Sense Out of Nonsense plus more every Saturday morning at 9:15. And we just taped our 25th show.
That's great. How's it going?
It's going pretty good. Yeah, it's going good. It's we talk about everyday life and the same spiritual stuff that we're talking about right now. Real life.
Yeah. Yeah, which is a good point. That real life is like all the things that you mentioned earlier about the things that are supposed to make us happy. That speaks to that programmed unhappiness, program for unhappiness, because we go and we do them. With two things can happen. We can reject them and rebel against them, in which case we also don't know for sure that we'll be happy, or we can accept them and pursue them, in which case most of us seem to discover that it doesn't make us happy. And we're either keeping ourselves busy, spinning our wheels, making someone else happy, and hoping that that's going to make us happy. So it seems like there are so many roads to unhappiness,
55, I'm listening. Right. And there's different levels to these. So I wanted to share, there's different levels.
Yeah, please.
Level 2, level 3. So the level 1, everyone would understand. So like, for instance, blaming somebody else for how you feel, comparing yourself to someone else, trying to control anyone or anything outside of yourself, worrying. I have a question. Do you worry?
Yeah. Well, I have in my daily affirmations the statement that the affirmation that I have abandoned worry. So to a great extent, I think I'm accomplishing that. But I am a worrier. I have been traditionally a worrier.
Okay, well, you already know that you didn't pop out of the womb knowing how to worry.
Yeah.
So you were taught how to worry. And the good news is whatever you learned, you can unlearn. And there's the other reason worrying is just lack of trust.
Yes.
You can't worry and trust at the same time.
What's interesting is that sometimes worry or anxiety it's learned behavior, but it's based on repetition. In other words, let's say your parent, this wasn't the case with my parents, but let's say that a parent is unreliable, and then the child is conditioned to not rely on the parents and worry, let's say, about their own well-being. Well, how do you get them to abandon worry when the worry is based on behaviors and things around them that are really happening.
Put your seatbelt on for this. You ready?
Okay. Yeah.
And now the audience. So sometimes, a lot of the times, these behaviors, worrying, we've heard of the addiction to drugs and alcohol and shopping and gambling.
Right.
How about the addiction to worrying?
Yeah. Okay.
Becomes an addiction to worrying, complaining, being impatient, taking anything personally. It becomes an addiction. And so with that addiction, it becomes part of your identity. And if I said, hey, everybody knows that worrying isn't good for you, and I snap my finger, your worrying is gone. Well, some people would feel uncomfortable not worrying. What am I going to do with all that time?
Right. So so then you're becoming addicted to worry as opposed to, let's say, problem solving, right? In other words, there's nothing to stop somebody from problem solving, which means they are acknowledging the problem, but worrying about it, being anxious and fearful about it, doesn't doesn't result in the solution. Or I guess some of those who worry, and in my previous, point of view, I used to worry a lot. We feel that worry is a precursor to action, but maybe it's not.
Which is another program. And let me tell you something. One of the things that subtracts from happiness, contentment, is living in the past or living in the future. Worry is future. It's all future behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah, write that one down.
I am writing it down. Worrying is future behavior.
It's
Yeah.
all future. So it's just practicing living in the present moment.
Right. And what would be an example of a habit that's past behavior? Regret?
That's another program. A regret is I don't believe that something that happened benefited me to a certain degree. I shouldn't have experienced that.
Right.
Go back to the handyman. I shouldn't have experienced that. No, everything that happens, this is what I believe, is in divine order. Do you trust that? Do you believe that? You either do or you don't.
Right. Well, in terms of past, so if regret is one program, what's another program that fall into that's tied to the past?
Living. Okay, how about this one? This is really going to hurt. I mean, if I had any feelings.
If I'm already strapped in, I might as well take it.
Okay. Here we go. I almost hate to do it, but I don't. Do words have power?
Right. Yeah. Well, are you asking me or you're?
I'm asking you.
They have a certain amount of power, less power on me than they used to, but they do have power.
Well, words having power is another program.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was giving a talk, this was years ago, I was giving a talk, and at my chiropractor's office, and there was a woman that brought a little toddler in, and I was right at the point where I said, words don't have power. And, of course, the adults, of course they have power. They're very powerful. I mean, the world will tell you, hurt my feelings, you can offend me. Okay. And I picked up this little baby and I started insulting her.
Oh, wow.
I said, you are the ugliest child I've ever seen. You're not going to amount to anything. You're stupid. Your parents are losers too. I mean, I couldn't insult her anymore. And just the same look that you gave us, the adults were.
Uh-huh.
And I just went on and just ridiculed this little toddler. And I put the little girl down, and guess what she did? She kept playing.
I was going to say she either laughed or kept playing.
She wasn't programmed to the point where words have power. I mean, the simplest example is if somebody curses you out in a different language. So it's a practice knowing that words don't have power. Who's more powerful? The person that can be offended or the person that can't?
Right. Well, what I was thinking while you were speaking was about cancel culture and our sensitivity to words. And just wondering if there's, like when you said who has the power, the person who's vulnerable to, to the words, or the person who isn't. What is your thought looking at it from a societal kind of perspective? Words.
Well, I'm only going to speak for myself, but I'll tell you this. I'm more powerful that you can't say anything, not specifically you, but you can't say anything, you can't do anything. It's impossible to hurt my feelings. You can't compliment me and you can't insult me. May I share a quick story?
Yes, please.
And this is a true story. And the gentleman has already signed out. This signed off. This is an article that I wrote it in LinkedIn a couple of years ago. It was in September 2021. I went to this huge hoity-toity big ticket. It's called Secret Knock. Anyway, it was attended by millionaires, billionaires. The gentleman that started Priceline, Jeff Hoffman, the gentleman that started Uggs, he was there. And so there was this other young man, and his name was Walter O'Brien. And Walter O'Brien supposedly is worth $50 million. And he's got an IQ of 197. He's the inspiration for the CBS show Scorpion, which I had never seen before. So for some reason, I wonder if I could have a conversation with somebody with 197 IQ. So I was curious. I tapped him on the shoulder, and all of these people, they made themselves available. And I said, "Greetings, Mr. O'Brien. My name is Rebecca Norrington, and I'm a happiness specialist." And before I could say anything else, he said, "I would never hire you to work in any of my companies because what you do is toxic." And I started laughing too. The same thing. I started laughing. He said, "Toxic happiness specialist, please tell me more," which he did. He said, "I've contributed zero to the planet. Searching for happiness and inner peace is delusional. What I've accomplished can't be measured. Therefore, I've accomplished nothing." That's one of my personal favorites. He said, "I was selfish." And he said, "If the clients I counsel don't employ at least 1,000 individuals, I'm wasting their time." Now, why were you able to laugh? Why was I able to laugh? And I don't know, maybe 90% of the population wouldn't be laughing at that. Number one, words innately do not have power. His words had nothing to do with who I was.
Right.
And quite frankly, whenever you're describing someone, especially in a negative way, guess what? Don't tell anybody, but you're talking about yourself.
Yes, indeed.
And then
yes, indeed.
The second, it's never personal. I don't care if somebody's screaming your name. It's never personal. What he said to me wasn't. And this is one of the things that I practice. There's 360 degrees in a circle. And so I practice having 360 perspectives in any single moment. In fact, if I'm stuck with just one perspective, guess I know who the author of that perspective is. It sure isn't my higher self.
Right.
It's the ego with just one perspective. And then the last thing is, what does the man that's walking around with the hump in his back, what does the man with the hump in his back want more than anything else?
Oh, okay. It's a trick. It's a trick question. Well, it is. I don't know what it was.
He doesn't want a woman. I've heard he wants a woman with a hump. No. He wants you to have a hump too.
Oh, okay.
So it's not misery.
It's just it's loneliness.
Misery needs company.
Okay. Yeah.
The end.
Well, I'm going to push though further because I always like to give my guest the last word, and you already kind of claimed a wonderful last word. But since we're nearing the conclusion of our interview, first I want you to share with people where they can find you and find your book and both books, but also then finish off with a little guidance for those who do want to program themselves for happiness.
Thank you for that. Well, you can find me, you can just Google Rebecca Norrington on my website, rebeccanorrington.com. I do a show every Sunday morning called Reality Spirituality, The Truth About Happiness. It's live on YouTube and it's on Blog Talk Radio. And I already told you about the show with my son. And let's see. Oh,
Yeah.
the book Program for Unhappiness is just couple of weeks, 3 weeks now, Program for Unhappiness. And in it, I list 56 program behaviors in different levels. And level 3, which is the same one that words don't have power, is giving or labeling something. This is important.
Yeah.
Serious. You can still journey through life without that. This is important. This is serious energy, because that's the tracks. What I would leave you with is, this is what I would leave you with. There is a very famous study, you can Google it. It's called the 5 Most Common Regrets of the Dying. Have you heard about it?
Yes. Yeah.
And so it was done by a hospice nurse for people that had a week to live, months to live, days to live. And she asked them, what are your 5 most biggest regrets? And the 5th one is, I wish I would have been happier. I think this happiness thing I think it's number 1. Of course, I realize that everybody doesn't think like me, but whatever and I'm going to leave you with this, whatever your energy is, that's your contribution to the world. So if you are complaining, you're negative, I'm not judging you. I'm just saying that is your contribution, your energetic contribution. So just be mindful of that.
Thanks so much for tuning into Truth Tastes Funny. If you enjoyed the experience, please leave a 5-star review and share this podcast with your friends.